Hello, this is our run-on fragment lecture that we're just going to go over so that we don't have to take time in class to do it. Hopefully, this is review for you. So, one of my favorite quotes is by Mark Twain, and he says that the difference between the right word and the almost right word is like the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. So as we go this year and go over the technical side of writing, commas, semicolons, contractions, conjunctions, know that it's important and it matters. When employers are reading your writing and professors, whoever it is, they're looking to make sure that you know the details of writing as well as that you have great ideas. So one of the basic ways to write well is to avoid fragments and to avoid sentence run-ons. So I'm just going to go over some basic guidelines for identifying those. Sentence fragments simply are incomplete thoughts. They either lack a subject or they lack a verb. So I have some examples on my whiteboard behind me. The plants on the windowsill. Okay, so what about the plants? There is no verb in this sentence, right? On the windowsill is a prepositional phrase. So we have the plants. So to correct this, we either need to add a verb up front, I saw the plants on the windowsill, or the plants on the windowsill died. Okay, so we can add a verb on either end, but there has to be a subject and a verb to make a complete sentence. The next one, while we were in Mexico, right? This is not a complete thought. Although it may be how you might answer a question, that does not make it a complete sentence. So while we were in Mexico, what happened, right? While we were in Mexico, we swam. Okay? You could also put we swam at the beginning of the sentence. The problem with this one and the next one is that these are subordinating conjunctions and they can't stand alone. They only make sentence clauses, dependent clauses. So because I said no, all right, it is a great flaw to start a sentence with the word because if there is no comma included. So, because I said no, you are in trouble. Okay? Or you could say, you are in trouble because I said no. Either one works. Just simply a sentence that begins with a subordinating conjunction must be followed after that dependent clause by a comma. We'll be going over this much more in class in the coming weeks. All right, so that's basically sentence fragments, is asking yourself, is there a subject and is there a verb? And if you have both, it doesn't matter how short the sentence is, it is a complete sentence. So, for example, I do. Okay, very short sentence, but indeed it is a complete sentence because there is a subject and a verb. Okay, we're moving on to run-ons now. There are two basic problems with run-ons. However, a lot of people simply think that if you have a long sentence that it must be a run-on. That's not true. If it's punctuated appropriately, if it has the right number of conjunctions, then there are incredibly long sentences that might surprise you, that there's nothing wrong with them. But when you're dealing with run-on sentences, there are two basic ways in which we err. One of them is that we simply forget to put an end mark, and we just keep going with our thoughts. And I have an example of that here on the board. My sister came home late, her car had broken down. Okay, that is actually two subjects and two verbs, right? My sister came home late, period. Her car had broken down. It's two sentences. A lot of times this happens, we just get writing so fast, we forgot to put the period in there. The easiest way to catch this type of a run-on sentence is to read our writing out loud, even if you're just reading to a wall. If I were to read, my sister came home late, her car had broken down, I would almost hear that there's a natural pause here, right? I want a breath. I'm starting a new idea. So I would know, oh, something's wrong there. And I would put in a period and capitalize the first word of the next sentence. The other basic error made with sentence run-ons is what we call a comma splice. Okay, and we think we've identified we have two ideas that may or may not be exactly connected. But and so we attempt to attach them to each other with a comma, and it doesn't work sometimes. So that would be this type of sentence, the comma issue. Right? He has a hard decision. We trust he will make a wise one. Okay? We knew something was going on here, right? He has a hard decision. We trust he will make a wise one. We didn't quite get it right because a comma typically, when joining two ideas together, needs a conjunction. Okay? So we could fix this really easily by saying he has a hard decision, but we trust he will make a wise one. Okay? Just by adding in the conjunction, we've corrected this run-on. Now, there's actually another way we could correct this sentence. This is the fancy way and the way that most people absolutely avoid. It's the semicolon. He has a hard decision, semicolon. We trust he will make a wise one. If there are two sentences closely related, which these two are, you can join them as one sentence if you use a semicolon. Note, though, that the beginning of the second sentence is not capitalized. Semicolons are hard. I shouldn't say they're hard. They're simply not something that are commonly used. So when you use one, you want to make sure that you're using it correctly. And I would challenge any of you to use a semicolon throughout the year. Ask me if it's correct. I'll help you. Because I believe when I'm reading papers that use semicolons, a little secret, when they're used well and accurately, they're actually an indicator of a high-level thinker. So why not present yourself as a high-level thinker, right? So this is our little mini lecture on sentence fragments and sentence run-ons. The moral of the story is the more we proofread, the more we read out loud, the more we're going to avoid making these simple mistakes.